Hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate podcast. This is Khani, your host. And today we have two fashion queens here with us. Nechama Yaffe, Color Consultant, and like all around beautiful human. And my sister Rochi. I'm not really sure how to introduce her because I've been begging her to come on for years at this point to come on the podcast. Well, thanks for being here. Let's get started.
I'm so excited to be here with both of you.
So I feel like we just need to talk about fashion because that's just where we need to start, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay, that's awesome. So what are you loving right now?
Like, what am I loving fashion-wise?
Yes, fashion-wise.
Honestly, I'm loving athleisure.
Okay.
Like just like easy, but I'm also loving seeing like things that I grew up with, like looking towards, and like when I was little, and or even when I was like in high school, and like those things coming back.
Oh, that's interesting to see some things come back again. Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen those cycles a few times.
Yes, I have, absolutely.
But
it's really interesting.
But I think what my favorite thing about right now, what's going on, is the fact that there's a lot of just like self-expression in fashion, and people doing all kinds of things that are not necessarily. You were talking about it before we started recording.
Yeah.
About how you've never really been in your, like, you've never like followed trends. You've just kind of always like did your own thing. And I feel like other people are catching on. I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, I think everybody's wearing whatever they want, but making it kind of fit together. Like there's like the whole 70s look, there's the 60s look, then there's the whole, people dressing like 1920s, 1930s. So there's like a lot of different trends all happening at the same time. In some ways, I think it makes things a little bit harder though, because there's no specific style that everybody is wearing. For example, in the 70s, like everybody was wearing the pointed collars or like the ponchos. Yeah. But now there's so many different styles that are okay. And I feel like the trends are passing really quickly. Do you notice that? Like there's like animal prints are in style again, but I feel like it's just for like a short time. Yeah. And then they might disappear again. Yeah. Is there anything else that you think is like that you think might be just like temporary, like, or short-lived?
Yeah,
trend?
I think
That's
everything. Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't shopped in a while, and I'm thinking, I'm like, when I go shopping, and if there's like an investment piece, like, what would that investment piece be? Because because these, like you said, these trends move so quickly, and I don't really necessarily care as much either to follow the trends. Right. But it's important to like be able to like integrate them into my personal style.
Right. Absolutely. I also
what are you loving these days?
I keep thinking, going back to basics, like I always go back to like what is something that you could wear over and over again and can kind of weather all like the trends and the changes. And one of those things is a leather jacket, because I feel like a leather jacket, whether you find it vintage or new, if it's a classical cut, or like a riding style, or like a biker jacket, you can always wear it. It never really goes out of style.
It's
versus
so interesting.
Something that's very trendy. Sometimes you could spend a lot and then not wear it again.
But there's something very trendy about a leather jacket, though. That's what's so ironic about it.
Is it really trendy?
Do you know what I mean?
I feel like leather jackets, though, have always been in style. Like,
right.
They've always been.
But like the person who's wearing a leather jacket is like, it's like a thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I have to show you mine, by the way.
Okay. Oh, you did get one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's so cool. Wait, what color did you get?
I got a black one.
Black leather?
Yeah.
Wow, that's very brave. Black leather is very brave. It's very strong.
You mean like instead of brown?
Yeah, instead of brown.
Okay.
But black leather is cool. It's very classy.
Yeah. Black is not on my palette.
I know. I was just looking at your palette. I was like, black, but you have very dark brown on your palette.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You have some colors that are really close to black.
Well, listen, you told me I could wear whatever I want.
You could wear whatever you want.
And that was very generous of you.
You could always wear whatever you want. It meant a lot to me. Yeah. But you could, black leather, I mean, you can't go wrong with that either because you could dress it up, dress it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think black leather is amazing. Also, you could just throw it over a dress and it would look completely put together.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about like too many pieces of an outfit.
Yeah.
I feel like a leather jacket pulls everything together.
It's so interesting because I think growing up, like I always thought leather jacket was like for a certain kind of person, that person wasn't me.
Right.
So I'm still like trying to like
to figure out if it is.
Yeah, no, to like just get comfortable with the idea of leather jackets because it was always so foreign to me.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like every season or every, and every person with every palette, there's a leather that they could wear. For a spring, it might be like a colored leather, like a blue leather.
Interesting.
Or pink or even green leather, like iridescent. Or, summer could wear something like a plush tone leather jacket. Everybody could wear a leather jacket. It just has to be like the right color, right style, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you have what's your leather jacket?
My leather jacket is dark brown.
Right. I think I saw
And it's a
it.
biker jacket.
Yeah,
it's kind of a biker jacket. It's in between like a biker jacket and like it kind of has like a mandarin collar. It's like a flying jacket almost. Like the 1920s, 1930s.
And you like dress it up, dress it down.
Yeah. And it's just stood the test of time. What are you liking, Rochi?
It's funny about trends particularly. I've never been much of a like following trends kind of gal. Never have been. But the one trend I'm thinking about is when we were in high school, there was like this pencil skirt. Yeah. And then it would go with a cardigan. Do you remember those cardigans?
Oh my gosh.
And then you had to have this sleeveless or like undershirt to go with it.
To go underneath the cardigan.
Yeah. So they had a cardigan set sometimes. And sometimes you would have like a fancier thing underneath, right?
Yeah.
So I remember that look. I could never hack it. I remember the Target had these cardigans that we all had, right?
Yeah.
But they just never really looked good. So that's just a trend that I remember was like a very important trend.
Yeah. It only looks good on very few people.
Oh, okay.
Cardigans are like for a very select few. I know very few people that wear cardigans well.
Especially with the pencil skirt also. That's kind of a hard match.
It's a hard match. I mean, if I had to imagine somebody wearing that look, I would say like someone like a very petite winter could carry it off. But most people don't carry off cardigans very well.
It's very interesting. But what's interesting to me now is that I love a good pencil skirt. I just absolutely love a good pencil skirt. So yeah, that's what I'm loving now. I don't know if it's on trend or not.
Right. I don't know. I feel like everything is in style, really. I mean, there's been like minute changes, like the waistlines have gone up and the waistlines have gone down. But I feel like I just keep thinking the last few years, everything is just moving very quickly.
Yes.
The only thing that I've noticed that's been very consistent is like if you look at like designers or you follow them on Instagram or whatever, their dressy clothing is very consistent.
Okay.
And it's very classical, like the riding style jacket or the princess style dress or the Renaissance style dress. The dressy clothing, just like more, anything that's for like evening wear. It's been very classical and very unmoving. I think some of the dresses look like they could be from the 1920s or 30s that are just showing up again and again in every season of the more dressy clothes. I think it's the street clothing that has changed a lot, where people are wearing like very crop tops sometimes. I mean, I feel like that has fluctuated a lot more than the designers like more dressy clothes. Mm-hmm. That's been very stable from what I've observed. Like the dressy clothing is just very much the same.
Well, it does kind of make sense because it's the fast fashion brands that are really leading for street fashion.
Yeah.
And those articles of clothing will not last more than a season. They won't even, because they're not made to last. So that might be why.
Right. And I feel like some of the street fashion that I've seen photos of is not really practical. Like if it's very extreme, it's not practical for everyday wear. I think in the end, for most people, what wins is what's practical. So like, I think wearing, flats and like you said, a pencil skirt or ankle boots with like something that's interesting, like an item of interest, like really cool earrings, like you're wearing now. And then something like that is easier to wear and more comfortable than some of the more extreme like trends where people are wearing like lots of layers and like clashing colors. You can't really wear that to work. It's not comfortable to go shopping in those clothing. So, I think some trends are practical and some aren't.
Yeah. I love what you said about the higher end like evening wear like being stable. Yes. I didn't notice that, but it's very like validating, and it's like it feels there's something like where you can't catch your breath with like everything moving so quickly. But then you're like there's still that traditional fashion like style to it. Specifically when we talk about evening wear, obviously that goes immediately to like wedding wear. Right. And so I was looking at the dress that I wore like 4 years ago to my sister's wedding, and I was like, that's like not a thing anymore. No.
What was it?
It also was not on my palette at all.
Okay.
But it was like a silk, like A-line dress with like big sleeves.
Right.
I probably could pull it off again, but maybe just I moved past that. Maybe it's still a thing.
Right. Sometimes also like I think we may have mentioned this when we talked first, like your palette really does change as you get older.
Yeah.
Like when you're younger, you could wear brighter florals, more pastels. And then like as we get older, our palettes really change. Like sometimes they shift even towards another season.
Yeah.
So your clothing is going to be different. But as far as I think the idea might be that what you were saying, like everybody's kind of following their path to find something that's really like gonna last. I think it's best to go with looks that have like never gone out of style, like the safari look or the riding boots. Like they'll never really go out.
You can always find a riding boot.
You'll always find a riding boot somewhere. You can always find a safari style dress or a top, because those things are just like, they've been classics for so many years. I would say almost 100 years. So you'll always find.
But it's also kind of fun to do something that's going to like for
just a short time.
For a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I noticed the boots, I don't even know if they're still in. The boots that everybody was wearing with the lug soles. Everyone was wearing the ankle boots with like the really heavy lug sole.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if that's still now, like flats are in style again. Like the flats with like a gold buckle.
That's so weird to me.
That it went out of style.
That it's back.
Oh, that it's back?
The little buckle.
Oh, the little buckle with the, yeah.
Mary Jane's, all that.
Well, not exactly Mary Jane's, but like the ballet flats with the buckle in the front.
That's the Chanel flat.
Again. Yeah, the Chanel flats are in style again. But I don't know how long they'll last.
So when I was really insecure about my height when I was in high school, and a little beyond that, thank God the flats were in style. I had to get the flattest shoes to make sure that I was like as close to the ground as possible.
Yes.
I would never go back there.
Yeah.
Just because like it's so connected to like me being so uncomfortable in my own skin and my own body and my own like presence. So like I don't think I would ever wear a flat again. Like I always have like an inch or two on my shoes and like
the flats also, I think that they're very hard to wear because they actually look better with jeans or with pants.
Yes.
Like the ballet flats are meant to be worn like with pants. Like if you look at Audrey Hepburn, which she was one of the first people that was doing like the ballet flat look, she wore them with pants because it's like a modern take on it. Otherwise, it looks pretty silly. I think it can look good with a short skirt if you're very petite. You're wearing it with black tights and like little ballet flats, but it doesn't work for bigger people and taller people. I don't think in general with a skirt. Like ballet flats just aren't flattering.
Maybe you need the pleat in the pant, like the iron down fold.
Or even it looks good even I think with like almost like legging style or very fitted jeans. It can look good. But it just doesn't ballet flats look terrible with a flared skirt. They're like the only way they look nice is if it's a very streamlined outfit, like a pencil skirt, but also you have to have the right type. Like I don't like autumns generally do not look good in a ballet flat unless they're wearing it, you know, with a very square toe or a more squared off toe. You know, if you're a classical kind of autumn, if we're going about the seasons.
What kind of ballet flat can a summer wear?
I think a summer can wear a ballet flat if they're kind of a petite and, you know, kind of smaller person and they're wearing it with a pencil skirt. But I don't imagine like someone who's a summer and is very tall wearing it unless they're wearing, you know, pants or it doesn't bring the same look. Like it's supposed to be a streamlined look, ballet flats. So you can't wear ballet flats with like a long flowy skirt.
Mm-hmm. But then if you're wearing, let's say like a pantsuit,
yeah,
it'll look better with like a chunky heel than a ballet flat anyway.
Well, if you're wearing a pantsuit that's very structured, you could wear it with like tights and a ballet flat if you have the right figure for it too. You know, you have to be kind of like, it has to be a very specific type.
Yeah.
You know?
This is actually so healing to hear this because that's like a look that like I try to squeeze myself into.
Right. The only kind of
and
ballet
now you're
flat,
like, it's not the right thing.
It's not really the right thing. Sometimes you could wear a ballet flat with like a crisscross in the front. And then you could wear, like, if it looks kind of like a ballet shoe, really, like where it's like crossed in the front or has lacing in the front, then you could get away with like a long flowy skirt with that. It actually looks really cool. But if it's a ballet flat, that's like the typical one, that's like the oval toe with like the buckle in the front or the trim, it doesn't really look good like that.
That's really helpful advice.
Good advice.
Especially for people who like.
My styling tips.
I mean, I haven't thought to wear a ballet flat in years, but
right
back then, like,
but you were saying
very like reassuring.
But you guys, I want to hear what you both think about like the athleisure that you were talking about before. Rochi, do you want to say anything? I want to hear what you have to say.
It's really good to have like a comfortable, cute way to dress. And it's nice because if you can, what I would add to the conversation about athleisure is that I love a mix. I love mixing fancy and like all the things, right? Like I'll wear like mix the jewelry or silks and the cottons. I just like to mix. I like to mix
what you're wearing
patterns.
what you're wearing right now really works for you. Can you do one thing? Can you just pick up your collar? Like put it up?
Like this? Pop the collar?
Oh, okay.
All right. We just popped the collar, everyone.
Okay.
For all the listeners.
Oh my goodness. So much better. All the way, all the way.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now
can you tell? Yeah.
Really edgy.
Really amazing.
Okay.
And with the earrings. You want to tell everyone about your earrings too that you're wearing with your athleisure outfit?
I am wearing, how do I describe these earrings? They have like kind of like chains on them. Not chains. That's more elegant than chains. But either way.
Yeah, they do. Right. Kind of like dangling.
Fake pearls in the bottom or something.
Has fake pearls and then it also has.
But it has like it's like a chain link.
Yeah, and it a little bit gives like a galaxy vibes to me.
Super cool.
Yeah, I just live for like mixing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
no, that's amazing. And I think for athleisure, like what you're doing is so perfect, what you're wearing right now, because you're wearing like the t-shirt, a silkscreen, and then the denim, like a denim jacket kind of pulls it all together because it gives it some structure.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important because I feel like sometimes we feel like we always have to be dressed up. So you have to be able to feel comfortable too.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, I think, what I love about a denim jacket too, is that it can really pull together like a whole look. There's something very classic about it. And also very like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a good piece to have.
I think denim jackets are like a little bit like the leather jacket.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because you could wear them in the spring, like over like a flowy dress or over like, leggings and, like a stretch skirt. I think denim is amazing. It's also really changeable.
I want to share an experience I had like a couple weeks ago. I was wearing like a sweatshirt and almost like a running skirt. But that skirt, I dress up all the time. Or if I put like a nice pair of boots on and like a nice jacket, then it just kind of... And so I was going to an event that night, and it was like this mental health awareness event, and Rochi, my sister, was speaking at it. And on my way out the door, I like had a sweater that I was going to change into, and I was going to kind of like, quote unquote, like get dressed. And I saw the sweater on the couch, and I was like, I don't want to wear it. So I just put on a nice pair of shoes and like maybe lip gloss. I don't remember. And I just like went as I was, because I was like, this is what I'm comfortable in. And I got there, and I was just so happy that I allowed myself to just like be comfortable. Like, yeah, I was going to an event, and it was in the evening, and I could have gotten dressed, but I didn't feel like it. And trust me, like I love getting dressed. But that night I was like, and I just like let that happen. And then I was able to like be in the experience more, which was a really cool thing to do. So that was like my little.
When you're dressed more casually, it gives you time to like just be in yourself and not project anything like for other people to look at you. Cause I notice like if you're dressed up, you automatically are going to bring more attention to yourself than if you're dressed casually. So I think sometimes it's good to like intentionally dress down, because like if you're in a work situation where you don't want to call attention to yourself, or, if you're out for a run or something, I feel like it's good to just, you could play it down.
Yeah. And that I'll just hop on that comment. For my clients, I like to stay within the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And just like experiment a little bit, because I think with clothing helps us engage in the world. So just like you described, like you can be in yourself. So as we engage in the world, and I think also transitioning out of like this COVID reality into this new reality, we're just like, what's life? What's the world? How do I engage in this world? I mean, COVID is just one thing, but either way, like whatever stages we come through, like sometimes engaging with the world can be pretty intimidating. So having our clothing support us through that process can be really, really helpful. So
Can you just talk about what you do with your clients before you keep going?
yeah. So I help my clients with their wardrobes, and I like to add like a creativity, like a little bit of a storytelling element to it. So like my client can like kind of say a story through the way they dress, through the way they present themselves, and then help bring it to reality for them. So that usually it means by creating a good environment in their like actual physical wardrobe closet, so that they have like the visual aids to help formulate what they need. So that's might be a little vague, but and then as far as the comfort zone, I find that sometimes stylists will push a certain look on their client, or a certain, I don't know, just there's just like an agenda with it, right? This is the trend. And going back to trends for a second, I really also appreciate trends, because trends allow us to practice a little bit and play more, because I won't necessarily wear it if it wasn't on trend, I wouldn't even look at it, right? But if it's on trend, then other people and my eye keeps seeing it, so then I get adjusted to it and I can get used to it. So that helps me like try it out. But anyways, so with athleisure, I feel like sometimes it's like it's overwhelming to get dressed because of the way I'll be perceived when I go out. So if we can if I help my clients just kind of stay in the low, so that way they don't feel, they feel more comfortable and safe when they leave.
Right. It's like people sometimes that do therapy or things like that, they intentionally like underdress, like they'll wear very dark colors, subdued things, because they just want to be there for their patient or their client, and they don't want to attract too much attention to themselves, because the point is really, the person that they're serving. But I think that's why I think there's a place, like, right, there's a place for everything with that. But I like what you said about not like putting your idea on somebody else. And I think about that a lot when I create a palette for somebody, because it's better if it's not too specific, the advice sometimes, because everybody should be allowed to like explore it and have their own style. Like I could imagine somebody in a certain outfit or a certain look, but honestly, people will gravitate towards the expression of their own personality. So it's better to kind of leave things open-ended. And if somebody likes a certain look more than their other looks, and like they're very comfortable, let's say in like the peasant style, like, or like a bohemian look, then they should just use their colors and their their metals or whatever, their pastels, and use it for their self-expression instead of like somebody telling them, oh, I think you should always be wearing, this and this thing. So that's good. I mean, I like that.
I think it also kind of ties into this idea of loving to get dressed and then like also trying to create comfort and safety in the way that you show up in the world. So, and that's a very intuitive kind of thing where you want to be able to be intentional and choose like, this is how I'm feeling today. There was actually a point like maybe like 2 years ago where I was like, I want to make like a cute outfit like once a week just to like really challenge myself. I need to go back to that. I don't know if I'm ready, but that idea of like just challenging yourself to like a really great outfit with great accessories and whatever, like once a week or just on a regular day. And I think also just culturally being in a place where you have to be constantly showing up to like an event, a simcha, where you have to like meet a certain, Rochi and I talked about this, a certain standard, but also just like a certain like, yeah, like a certain standard of what's going on in the room and like how you need to dress.
And if like you're overdressed or underdressed, like you have to have the exact balance, right? You can't be too overdressed or you can't be wearing something that's too far outside the norm.
Yeah.
And you can't wear something that's too underdressed, like too trendy or too casual for the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're very hard to find that balance because I noticed that myself. If I go to an event and I don't have my finger exactly on the pulse of what's happening that night, and then I can be either terribly underdressed or terribly overdressed. So it's very hard to find that balance because it's hard also to know, to predict sometimes when you go to some events, like what the exact median dress is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so I think what's so distracting about what you just described is like you're so busy in your head, like thinking about what it's going to be. You don't even know what you feel to be able to be like, what do I want to be wearing right now? Like, what am I feeling? Like, ooh, is this it? And for me, I feel like I just want to like rein it back and take the control back and be like, how am I feeling? So that I guess I kind of described that with that night where I thought that it would be more like I would have to show up more dressed up for that event. Turned out like I was perfectly dressed for it and I wore what I wanted to wear. So that was like a cool, and now you're reminding me like the somersaults you make in your head about like the accessories and the lipstick color and like, is this ring too big or what about the necklace? And like, forget about the dress. Like, is that, or is it a shirt and skirt or is it like, and then maybe it's inviting myself to be like, go to the closet and see like, how are we feeling?
I think it's so funny. I'm so sorry if I'm interrupting you, but I just thought of something. Dress is so complex because on the one hand, we talk a lot about self-expression, but on the other hand, we live in a generation where you have to be dressing within somewhat of the norm of what other people are dressing. Like you can't come to an event like dressed like you just like woke up in the 1760s in a farmhouse. You will look really out of place, or you look like, like wearing overalls or something. So like, I just feel like on the one hand, we have this whole social construct where all of our dressing falls within that social construct. On the other hand, we're taught that we should have freedom of expression and we should be original and creative within that. So it's kind of very hard to find that balance, I think, between following whatever is going on that year, that day, that month, and then also being completely liberated in your own self-expression. Because sometimes if you're thinking just about the look, and I have like fallen into this trap a lot, like where you're thinking just about creating this beautiful look and you're like, oh, that's the dress I'm going to get. Those are the shoes I'm going to get. And then you show up and you feel like, wow, I'm so overdressed because I just wanted to create this beautiful look. And I'm like, oh, that's great. So I think it's very hard to find that.
interesting because I literally had this conversation, I think it was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, with another guest on the podcast about self-expression. He's an artist and a songwriter and a performer. And we were talking about this, like the tension of expressing yourself and then also having a relationship with your audience. So it's the same idea where it's like you want to express yourself, you want to like show up as who you really are and still be in this community,
Right.
in the space, in the event. It's like, back to like what's going on at the event, like what's the budget? Like, like that's not a crazy thing. Like, is this like a $50,000 wedding or is it a $500,000 wedding? Like that's going to make a difference of how you show up. But if it's that kind of event, I should know about it. So I'll make a kick-ass outfit. Like, just to have that communication. Yeah.
Of course.
But what's also interesting about that is, the tension of like being who you are in this space. And I think just the awareness, I think, is enough. And then if you can kind of like get out of my head, like just for an example, Shabbos, I had in mind like one outfit and I put the shirt on and I just wasn't feeling it. I went to my closet and I was like, oh, that's a sweater. It was like a very thick knit. And I was like, oh, let me put it on. Like it's March, like I'm not gonna have much, this might be my last day that I could wear it. And I put it on and then I wore a leather jacket. And so because of me thinking like, oh, let me wear that, I was warm and like I was comfortable. Otherwise, if I would have worn the other dress that like I thought I should wear, but I didn't really feel it. So I just took it off.
Yeah.
And I changed. And like,
so go with your instinct.
Yeah. Rochi, I feel like you have a lot to say on this.
Yeah, I have so much to say. It's probably going to be for another podcast episode.
Yeah, but let's get started. No, this is great.
The one thing there's a couple things about clothing. So much to say. I mean, I just, as soon as you start clothing, I get very excited about it. So I like to think about clothing a little bit like it's like a language. And it's a way that we communicate how we feel or how we're with ourselves, but then also with other people. So it's almost like it is kind of an interplay because it depends on the standard of what's going on. And I remember this one event that I went to a few months ago. I ended up wearing the right outfit for the event, but getting the outfit together was very stressful. And the stress that I went through to get the outfit together, I didn't get to enjoy the event as much as I would have if I would have not had the stress of. But the outfit was perfect. It worked out amazing. So a language to communicate, and then also the seasons. It can also be like a way that we communicate with the changing of the times. So now we're in a season change right now. We don't know how much. Is it going to be cold for a while now? Probably not, right?
A couple weeks, maybe.
Right. So then we switch, and then one of the nice things about the self-expression part of fashion right now is that you can cross over a little bit. You can wear like a sweater in the spring. You can wear like a linen in the winter. Like there's much more movement with that, which is nice, but then it's also confusing because then, like you said, we don't know where to put ourselves. But yeah, I think just talk to the intuition and the language. It can be a really powerful way to ground and communicate with, I don't know, ideas or
almost like a somatic experience as you're getting dressed.
Well, I should do that. That's a good idea.
Of like just getting into your body and grounding and being like, how are we feeling? What are we feeling? And sometimes it's just literally wearing the same thing I wore yesterday, just because there isn't more energy. It's not even about decision fatigue. It's just like energy, like you were saying, that not even to make a choice, but to wear something that's a little more expressive. Like maybe it's just not an expressive day. Maybe it's just a day.
Yeah, people don't talk about how much energy it takes to wear outfits.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy.
I think I want to say something like if you find something that really suits you and like you feel comfortable in it, then it should be effortless. If anything takes too much, this is my experience, just understanding color and style a little bit, is that if something takes too much effort to wear, then it's probably not right for you.
Okay, go to Nechama if you're
No, like if it takes too much effort, it's probably not right. Sometimes you may find something that's not right, but you want to make that effort to make it work for you. Like, let's say somebody finds something that's one of their eye colors or one of their hair colors, but it doesn't really go with their skin tone. But it's close enough that you just have to work a little bit to get there. Let's say you find like a gold that's in your hair that's not really on your palette. I'm just giving you an example. But if you wear it with a cream dress that is your skin tone, then it creates a forgiving, kind of easier way to wear it. But if something takes way too much effort, like, you're a soft summer look and you want to wear something that's like a really bright fire engine red, it's going to end up taking so much effort. You're going to just be exhausted by trying to find the right way to wear it. So it's easier to just, find something that feels so natural. I mean, nobody can see what I'm wearing, but I'm wearing my skin tone now and it's loose and flowy and the fit is so comfortable that it's so effortless for me. This color is so effortless for me. It's like, it's ivory with a little bit of yellow and a little bit of like pinkish cream in it. And it's just completely effortless. If you find something like that, then you know that it's really right for you because you don't feel like any effort in wearing it. And I think that's how you can tell if you have never gotten your colors done, if you're wearing the right thing, or even if you have, if it takes too much work, then it's probably not right.
I just want to clarify about like the work, because I agree with you 100%, but it's almost like you're feeling into like whatever energy is going on in your life.
Yes.
Of maybe I shouldn't say effort. Maybe it's just like, this just isn't the energy for now. So it takes too much energy because it's not in alignment with the energy now, not because it's not for me.
Yeah, no,
right?
I know what you're saying. Yeah, and I was just thinking about that. Like, it's much easier to wear a skin tone that's like, apricot or peach or whatever it is for you, or cream. It's easier. It's generally more effortless.
This might be the difference between like being comfortable feminine versus being comfortable athleisure. Because sometimes I think we gravitate to athleisure just because we don't know like a pretty comfortable way to dress.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like also when something is so wrong for you, it also kind of diminishes your personality? Like if it's so wrong, like people who haven't had their palettes done said like, oh, I wore a certain color and I just felt so drained. Like I wasn't projecting the right energy and I wasn't getting back the right energy from people because it just felt so drained by the color. So I feel like same thing as like if you're wearing something that's totally wrong for you, that it also, not consciously, it somehow interferes also with like how you express yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's why people have like negative associations with certain things, like, or with certain colors or because like maybe it was so wrong that they didn't feel right.
So I guess for the listeners, I'm just wondering what kind of insight we could kind of bring for somebody that may have not had that opportunity to clarify which colors or what season they are or something. Anyways,
I feel like the first insight is just to identify that like this is a thing, because I don't even think that people are necessarily aware. So even just like identifying, like you're not crazy. You're wearing something that is somehow not in alignment, which for whatever reason, either you're trying to impress someone else and it's not working for you, or
you're trying to be
true to the trend, or you're trying to fit in, or you're trying to be respectful to whatever space you're in, and it's not working. That's why maybe that's the only reason you're tired.
Right.
Like maybe that's the only reason why you feel uncomfortable. And I think everyone can kind of look back to like their high school days to like really like remember what that feels like, trying to like fit into certain trends. And like honestly, just that conversation for me was so validating to remember, wait, that's so not for you. And it's like, no wonder I felt that way.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay, that's cool. Let's keep going. Or maybe even hold space for the sadness and hold space for the loneliness and maybe the feelings of rejection and the feelings of not belonging or not being expressed or seen or accepted. Like, these are all feelings that can come up just from wearing something that isn't for you.
It's so funny that you say that about the uniforms, because I remember in high school, we tried to always, because the uniforms were so generic, either like a green pleated skirt or a gray pleated skirt, whatever they were, and white button down shirt, gray skirt, or whatever it was. So we used to try to like dress up, wear like interesting shoes and interesting like headbands and stuff like that, like for self-expression. And I think it made a difference. At least we had kind of permission to do that. And then I remember that when the last year of high school, I decorated my skirt with indelible ink. I drew pictures over the whole skirt and I wore it that way for like the end of the year, because I was like so done with that wearing the same thing all the time. And remarkably, nobody said anything to me, but I had drawings all over my skirt in ink. It didn't come out in the wash. It just stayed. I remember that. And I don't know how that flew, but it happened. But I think that uniforms are hard to wear for that reason.
I wasn't talking about the uniform, but I agree with you. I was more talking about the trends, you have to wear what everyone's wearing. So it's like the pencil skirt, the this, the that. And like, I haven't bought a pencil. Now Rochi's like getting onto them. I'm like, I should really get myself one because they're great.
I love them right now.
But they were so horrible for me because I was wearing them wrong. Because it has to fit on the waist and on your hips.
Yes, it has to fit perfect.
Yeah.
That never happened for me because I didn't get them tailored.
Right.
And I was like such an awkward size at that time. So I think the insight is maybe just the validation that sometimes it's just off, and if you feel like it's off, then it probably is. Yeah. That's cool. But Nechama, I'm curious your insight on what Rochi was saying about this conversation, like what insight you have for the listeners about finding comfort in like your wardrobe.
I mean, I think, of course, having someone give you some direction is always helpful. Even if it's just having your palette done and just understanding an overview of your season, it makes it really easy because it rules out so many things for you. And it's even better if you kind of know what your niche is within your season. Of course, I think what I like about the palette, how it's so helpful for people, is because every person is so unique and their colors are so unique. And even the expression of those colors, like the styles and the prints and the fabrics that they'll wear, is going to be so unique to themselves. To my mind, there's no like generic, like summer look or generic winter look or anything like that, because everybody's so unique that their expression of their season and their colors is going to be very unique as well. And I think honestly, it helps a lot just with ruling out everything that's not okay. And of course, we're still going to make mistakes for as long as we live with our clothing. We'll always buy something that's not exactly right and try to make it work. But it's a lot of trial and error, but I think it takes so much of the guesswork out before we know like what our colors and season are. It's very hard. Like, you have to work so much harder to find it. Once you know, it's like you've already ruled out like a whole family of colors and styles that you can't, it's not even something that you would even consider. So then you have fewer choices to choose from. And usually your choices are more accurate because you're more like fine tuned with what you choose. It's something that you do like hopefully just once in your life. And of course you can always redo it or expand on your palette. But I feel like it's like a one-time thing, but hopefully it stays with you. Like the feeling of your season or the feeling of all your colors together.
I'm curious if you have like insight for people who either have resistance or questions or like feel like it's an indulgence or something like that, helping someone make a decision to do it or not to do it, because obviously not doing it is also an option. Maybe that might not be for you. Curious.
I think we all want to feel comfortable in our own skin, whatever we do, and anything, wherever we are, whatever we do. And we want to be like doing the job that we feel most comfortable with. We want to be the kind of mom or wife or whatever that we want to be. We want to feel comfortable in our roles. So, and I think the palette really helps us because even though it seems like something external, it allows us to feel comfortable in our outer selves feeling comfortable with our inner selves. And if somebody chooses not to do it, that's totally fine. If fashion is important to somebody, or they're artistic, or if they're interested in fashion, I would question why they wouldn't want guidance if they feel lost. But if somebody doesn't, fashion and, that is not the way they express themselves, you could be a perfectly wonderful human being and not have your colors done and not be fashionable and not necessarily wear the right outfits.
I mean, for me personally, the reason why I didn't get it until maybe like 7-8 years when I originally had the opportunity to do it was because I didn't want another thing to restrict me, because I felt very restricted, like where I was working. And I also really wanted to find someone who like I trusted and felt like would make me feel good about it. And thank God I found the person, Nechama Yaffe. But I think I just wanted to be like, looking back, like I wanted to be more intentional about it. And at that time, I think I was like 22, 23, and it wasn't the right time for me. And I knew that at the time. I was like, I don't want to do it now. I think also I was just figuring things out and I wanted to give myself that opportunity. But I'm just speaking about myself. I think for other people, I don't know, I think it's scary.
I mean, I think a lot, this is my experience, that a lot of people, when they like have very mixed feelings when they actually see their palette, like they're very excited. But first of all, a lot of people cry when they have their colors done because they can't believe, like they feel like, oh, they're finally home. Like they found like their family of colors where they feel so comfortable and so beautiful. And I wanted to say something else about this, but people do feel a little sad when they get the completed palette. I've noticed this a few times. People will call me and they'll say like, but I thought I was a spring. I thought I was going to get like XYZ colors. I know these are the colors we tried on together. And so I think, like you said, it's like a lot of other things in life. So the palette's very beautiful, but it is a certain construct. But our lives are a construct, are a map. We are born into a certain family. We live in a certain town. We have certain talents. We have certain challenges. And I just think like the palette just represents that. It is a structured thing. It is a limited thing. And people sometimes have a really hard time with it. But what I will say is that once you do have your palette, you could be creative. Like you could push some of your colors. People will notice, oh, like if I wear this bright blue in velvet, I could wear a brighter shade than's on my palette. Or like if I'm wearing red lipstick, I could wear my red in a much brighter red. So once you have it, it creates a structure. But like if you have a softer palette, you're not going to say, oh, I'm going to go and wear fluorescent green or like bright yellow. So like you won't go too far out, but you'll start to push the boundaries in a way that feels okay for you. And you still will feel like you're within your look. So I think, yes, the palette is limiting, but actually I noticed when I've shown people like in their closets, just sorted through things and shown them like, for example, let's say someone's a summer and I say, oh, this is too springy. This is too autumn. Like even someone who already had their palette done, they feel kind of relieved because they felt so distracted by the things that were outside of what was really flattering to them. Also, the look is so harmonious when you're wearing all of your styles, all of your colors, all of your fabrics. I think that in the end, it makes you feel harmonious with your inside and your outside. And then it also makes it easier just to go out into the world because everything's kind of fits together. But yeah, I agree with you that the palette can be limiting. What do you think about that? Like, how do you feel about it now that you've had it done?
Well, I think the limiting of how I saw it when I was younger, because of my place of work and because of like everything else and because of like always having to like with my siblings and my mom and like everyone with their opinions about like how I should dress. So I feel like that was like very much like where I was, and I felt like I wanted to like kind of step away from that, explore a little, and then get my palette done. Kind of like develop a sense of style first, because I have seen people get their palettes done very young, and I almost feel like they didn't have a chance to really explore and really develop their own personal style, which I saw that with one person. And I really got nervous. Like I was like, And I knew that all I needed was time. So I gave it to I did that. And when I got my palette done, I really wanted it. And it was a really great experience. And yeah, it gave me what I needed. For sure. And like you said, the colors that I knew were for me, and then the colors that like I learned about, and then the ones that there was one color that you told me I can't wear, which is taupe. That was my skin tone transition piece that I had. I had like t-shirts and scarves, and you're just like,
you could wear it with other things as long as it doesn't predominate. You know,
yeah,
wear it like a shoes or a skirt. But
yeah. But there was something about it that gave me like clarity about that, and I replaced that with my other skin tones.
Right. Because for your palette's very like golden. The taupe was too flat for your palette. It didn't give you enough gold or enough pink. And that's why it didn't work, you know. The taupe works in different palettes in different ways.
Yeah. That was like such a core, like it gave me such clarity to my palette just with that conversation. I was like, and you explained that, and I was like, oh, there's dimension, there's shape to the colors that I need to step into. And there was like that invitation to like really step into all those colors. Actually, when you talk about when you sent me my palette, I got in the mail and I was like, you put every color under the sun on here. Like, what's going on? Like when at first glance, I was like, I felt like so overwhelmed. And then I looked at it and I mean, I love it. But I remember somebody else looked at it. She's like, you have no colors on here.
Oh, interesting.
And it's just, it's so interesting how.
What I wanted to say about the palette, that I think it's so important to like always be flexible with your colors. So it's impossible, like just in the structure, we want to create like a limited structure to how many colors we put on a palette because it can be overwhelming. So like within that board and within the book, it's guidance, but it's not like every shade of green that you're going to find, or people have to feel like they could explore on their own, and they might find a shade that's in between like their greens or in between two of their skin tones. It's not possible. I mean, there's like thousands, millions of colors in the world. Like it's impossible to put every shade of a color that's on your palette. So I think it's like a framework, and then you explore like other shades of those colors.
Yeah, 100%.
I think some people hesitate to get their palette done because they've seen people get it done and not be so accurate for them. And then also some people don't integrate it very well. So there are reasons why people don't want to get it done.
Right. I agree. I think it depends on like your outlook. And I think the most important thing is like, it's like to also have an open conversation of like what to expect, you know, from the palette. Yeah. It's not going to be, and also it takes a long time. Like it's like to process. And then, you know, as you adjust to it, you need to adjust to it again. Like with every like decade, you're going to change also. I think we spoke about this a while back, like how you dress, and you're going to have to adjust. Even the strength of the colors sometimes will change. We mentioned before we came on, like people who had their palettes done as children, the colors actually change, you know, as they get older. So we all have to be kind of open-minded and kind of shift with it and not be too rigid with it, but use it kind of as like an outline or like a guideline.
It's so interesting how colors and personal color is so connected with like our personal development and self-expression and life. And it's so amazing that you like hold space and witness people and all of that and give them the opportunity to really explore it and see themselves in a different light. I think it's such a beautiful gift that you bring to the world. And so I want to highlight that. And I would like to ask Rochi if you have any like closing, anything you'd like to share before we close out. You're meditating.
Yeah, meditating.
I would ask you like what advice would you give to people? Like for you, I'm saying like guidance, maybe like before you go to help them with their closet or with their wardrobe, like a way to prepare themselves mentally if you have something that will help them.
Yeah, I always like to tell people I always like to work with clients that have some sort of vision. It doesn't have to be like such a clear vision, but some type of vision of what they would like to get out of it. Yeah, because I have a vision that I like to bring also, like before I go see a client, I like to like think about them and think about their style and meditate on what I can bring. Right. So I would like them to do the same so we can match energy and do something good together.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, it's good to ask people, I think, what like their expectations are, because sometimes it may be something that you're able to provide, but sometimes it may be something that's out of our scope.
Yeah.
You know, like within the time that we have together. So it's important also like to set those boundaries, like, you know, this is what I can do for you. What do you expect? Okay, you know, we can work together on that. But some things like you may not be able to do within like a session that you have. Yeah,
well, this is why I like to have some vision, because I feel like the better the vision is, you can get a lot done in a
if you're
short
prepared.
amount of time. Yeah. So preparing some type of like personal agenda, and then sometimes people will have like numerous different looks that they need to prepare, like a business casual, dressy, right? So I worked with someone that was a painter, that's not the right word, an artist. So she needed like clothes that she can wear, but she doesn't want to wear rags. She wants to feel cute when she's painting.
Right.
So that's one. And then she needs a few different variations. So that's the other thing I would ask my client, is to just think about what a few different like prototypes that they want. And then, we can do it. We can get a lot done in an hour, and whatever our time, we can get really a lot done.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like that's such a great intention. It's like such a beautiful invitation for anyone whenever you set out to do any sort of project with somebody or hire somebody. What's your intention? Right? What are 5 looks you want? You don't have to answer all of the questions, but one centering, grounding theme can be like bring that. And I think that can also tie back to what we said before about when you need to get dressed for an event, for the day, for whatever. What's that theme? What's that grounding message? What's that grounding intention that'll help you put whatever it is together? That's kind of that's my personal takeaway.
Perfect.
Like just being intentional with the way we show up. And I think both of you have such incredible tools to be able to do that. So I want to thank you. And Nechama, would you like to close with anything?
No, I just want to say it was so much fun hanging out with both of you. We have both sisters together. It was awesome. And I think this is like a conversation that can just go on. And maybe we'll talk again. And yeah, it was just so nice spending time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for making the trip out. And thank you for our listeners for sticking out here. And you, by the way, are 100% welcome to send questions or comments or compliments to our email, hani@daretodifferentiate.com. Follow Rochi at Curated by Rochi on Instagram, and Streams of Color is Nechama on Instagram. I'll put everything in the show notes. And have a great day. Feel good. Look great. And come back again soon.